one of the more outspoken, well, now former members of Congress, Matt Gaetz. So the New York Times is reporting that there was a hack. He was hacked.
Yeah. He was hacked, or
Let me look. Okay, so a hacker using the alias Altam Beezley accessed a secure computer file shared among lawyers that contains 24 exhibits, including damaging testimony against former Congressman Matt Gaetz, now President-elect Donald Trump's Attorney General nominee. So there's currently a lawsuit that is going on. And this material, it comes from a civil suit filed by Christopher Dorworth, a businessman and associate of Mr. Gaetz. He's suing someone named Joel Greenberg, who is a former ally of Gaetz, who is now imprisoned for sex trafficking, and the woman alleging underage sex with Gaetz, claiming defamation. So that's kind of a long winded way of saying, let's go to this quote here. So this is a quote directly from the New York Times. I gave you guys a summary. So the hacked information has sworn testimony from Mr. Dorworth and his wife, as well as a testimony from Michael Fisher, Mr. Gaetz' former campaign treasurer, who is also said to have attended the party. So apparently they're alleging that Mr. Dorworth would have these parties where people would go and do drugs and have sex and a lot of other things. And this is where they say Matt Gaetz allegedly got caught up with this 17-year-old.
Oof.
And so it also contains various supporting materials, such as the gate logs showing who entered the property of the Dorworth home on the evening of July 2017, when this sexual encounter was alleged happened. And I have another quote here. No. So Mr. Dorworth is claiming that he was defamed by Greenberg and the woman, both of whom told federal authorities that Mr. Dorworth hosted parties where they, Mr. Gaetz, and others took drugs and openly had sex. So this was investigated by the House Ethics Committee. I think you guys have seen that going on. And they were not able to get him to cooperate on this. So it would be a thing to where they would request information from him. They would request like a statement from him. He would wait until the very last end of like the deadline when they needed it, and then not give them the actual information they asked for. So there was just there were a lot of roadblocks that he intentionally set up for them to do this investigation thoroughly. And there are different House rules or ethics committee rules where it's like, you cannot release anything that might be damaging or an investigation on a member of Congress during like an election cycle, or when they're like during a primary and during a general election. Like there was a lot of things, like things just worked out good for him, I guess. I mean, he played it also by, not cooperating, but like the timeline, and then boom, like 2 days before they were supposed to release this investigation, they concluded he resigns from the House of Representatives because he was named Donald Trump's pick to be the top cop of the U.S.
He's not even officially nominated, and he's like resigning to, oh yeah, I'm doing it because of this. But yeah,
no, he's officially nominated, not confirmed.
Does he? I didn't know a president-elect could like officially nominate a person. But I know that I read that at the House Ethics Committee is meeting tomorrow to discuss whether they'll pass it or not. And if Republicans decide, if the Republicans decide to sit on it, it's going to be leaked by someone. Oh, you know what I mean? Yeah. We're going to see this report. So,
well, the other thing is too, if you guys don't know what recess appointments are, you guys have probably heard that term being buzzed around. So recess appointments are specifically for, it's kind of like a fail-safe to keep things moving along. If the Senate cannot like agree on like a timeline or something like that, they're scheduling conflicts and they're on recess and they can't get people back in time to do these hearings and stuff to confirm these nominees. It's one of those things to where it's just like, okay, well, whoever puts the president up, they're just confirmed via recess appointment and they don't go through this whole thing. So Trump has been pushing for that. And like I said yesterday on the stream, Mike McConnell,
Mitch McConnell?
Gosh. Mitch McConnell. I was getting out for some reason. I was thinking of Mike McDonald. You see how like I could. You see how? Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
I see it.
He was saying that they're not going to do recess appointments, but like I said yesterday, it doesn't matter because he's not the Senate leader anymore.
No, but his number
Um,
2 guy took over.
yeah, but what I'm saying is whatever McConnell says doesn't matter. Like if he's going
Well,
to say,
yeah,
"Well,
but
we're not,"
the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Thune or Thun,
yeah.
sorry, I just don't know. That's
Thune.
McConnell's acolyte. Like
So you're saying he's just
he
going to
was
defer to
he
him?
no. I'm saying that he comes from the school of thought of McConnell. He's an institutionalist, a Senate institutionalist, and I don't think he will put the Senate in recess just because Trump wants it. And uh, you were
I
right
think he said he
mostly
was
when it comes
open
to.
to it. I think he said he
I
was
mean, he might
open
have
to
said
it.
that, but the fact that they couldn't get Rick Scott to be the majority leader is to let you know that this guy is not a full-on Trumper. I mean, he's going to play a dance for sure, but you were almost right. You were close. When it comes to recess appointments, that was like there, like a lot of things in our government, like it's completely unnecessary now. But it used to be that like people would have to take a month to get to DC. You know what I'm saying? So like
Gotcha.
if a senator went home, they couldn't get back in time to confirm a president's nomination. That's what it's meant. They recess and they all go home. Takes
Hmm,
them like a month to get there, 2 weeks or whatever.
sure.
That's what recess appointments were for. But now in this day and age, when we can get somebody there pretty quickly, we don't need what the original purpose of a recess appointment was. We don't have that purpose anymore.
Mm.
But it's still
We
in
got
there. We
private
never took it out.
jets.
So, yeah, you know.
Members of Congress can book multiple flights. For did you know that?
Um, yeah, I know that they get a lot of support, but I mean, Donald
Free
Trump,
airport
during
parking.
while Donald Trump was campaigning, he got to use Jeffrey Epstein's loaner plane or something like that.
Hmm.
Do you remember that? Like,
Sorry, I
okay,
was
yeah.
distracted. I was distracted. But did you just say he used Jeff Epstein's loaner plane?
Yeah, it's not Jeff Epstein's plane anymore because Jeff Epstein is dead and his estate has had to settle a bunch of stuff. But yeah, it was he was on his way to a Montana rally, and he
Mhm.
had like mechanical failure and had to land at the Billings airport. And so they sent Jeffrey Epstein's old plane, not the Lolita Express, not the famous one, but one of his old planes to pick him up and take him for the rest of the way. You know, and
I
then
did not know that.
there was an interesting explanation online. I don't know if this is true or anything like that, but apparently, like Donald Trump he owes a lot of municipalities like money, so he can't just fly in somewhere with his private plane without
Oh,
paying a bunch. So the little conspiracy theory was he switched planes so he didn't have to pay somebody or something like that. But I don't know what it was. I just remember,
dang.
that was he was on one of Jeffrey Epstein's own plane and they put Trump on the side of it. And I was just like, what staffer thought that was a good idea? You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I mean, recess appointments are outdated. They're not needed. He just sees it as a loophole to get everybody to attend. But I think it can come back to biting him in the butt because, like, when you do a recess appointment, all the people that you put in through a recess appointment, they all expire at the end of the Senate term, which means, um,
In what,
like,
2
if
years?
yeah, if the Republicans lose the House in 2020 or the Senate in 2026,
Then
everybody
the
who
terms.
he recess appointed, they're out, and now he's got to fill those vacancies.
Would they
You
have
know what I'm saying?
lasted that
And
long anyways?
maybe, maybe not. I mean, like if he's doing judges, for instance, because there's a ton of judge vacancies, and anytime the Senate could have gone in recess to give Biden like all of those recess appointments, but like I said, they'd expire with the new Senate. So
Hmm.
yeah,
What do you think of this nomination? I mean, they said there were audible gasps on the Senate floor when this news broke. And, people were saying this is the worst nomination in the country's history for this like prestigious role. Like this is
I
a
mean,
big deal. Like this is such an important job.
I'll never claim to understand the mind of Donald Trump. Part of me thinks that like, oh, is this like him just trying to flood the zone and just make the Senate Republicans just so exasperated and running around aimlessly because they just can't stop from being shocked every day that they just can't come together and like oppose his agenda the way they
Mm,
normally would. Another part of me thinks that like this was like a really bad pick so he can make his other bad picks look more attractive. And then
mm,
also I do think there's some element to he's seeing now who is going to be loyal to him in the Senate. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm thinking. But then, maybe the simplest reason is the one to go, and I think he just wants somebody who's going to be a revenge attack dog, and then also he probably wants to damage the DOJ a little bit from the inside. So that's what I'm
Well,
thinking.
yeah,
Gates would
and
definitely
I mean,
do that.
so the thing is that let's say they actually do a hearing.
Mm-hmm.
It's public, correct?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna be fun
So
to watch.
we should watch it live, but
Yeah, we should watch it live, man.
live react. Uh, I think I saw something, which I'll confirm and maybe talk about it on a later stream. Like once we, learn more about like this hack. And I mean, I would say like if you hack this stuff, like put it out there, release it. Like at this
Well, I
point,
think they're just waiting to see if the ethics committee will release it or not.
oh, that makes
So
sense. Or just be one step ahead of them. Do the people's work. Like, just put it out
I
there.
thought it was gonna leak. I thought it was gonna leak no matter what. Did you see that
So
Marjorie Taylor Greene was like? Did you see Marjorie Taylor Greene today? What she said about this?
no, what'd she say?
She's like, "You want to release one ethics report? Let's release all the ethics reports in both the ethics committee in the Senate and the House." And I'm just like, man, I'm agreeing with her this time. This is one of
Yeah,
those times.
let's put it all out there.
Yeah,
Put it
let's
all
do
out there
it.
because at this point we are all in this together. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it seems like people are so like the degree of separation between like the political powers that be and just the public is like non-existent
Mm-hmm.
now. Like I feel like we're in the room with these people now. Like
Yeah.
I feel like we're all a part of this. So let's just get
Yeah.
all of our stuff out on the table and see. But
Yeah.
I think what I was going to say is the Senate committee can request this ethics report.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say if it's sealed and they could still request it and in
Mm-hmm.
some way like talk about it during the hearing,
Sure.
or maybe they won't and kind of just like vote yay or nay depending on that, but not making those pieces of information public. But I feel like we need to know if this
Yeah.
person's going to be the nation's top cop. Like we need to know.
I don't think he's gonna be. I don't even think he's gonna get a confirmation hearing.
You don't think
That's
so?
my prediction. I don't. Rule number one: don't predict the future. And then I'm gonna go ahead and break note rule number one. No, I don't. I don't even think he makes it to the confirmation
Hmm.
because that's almost a too good to be true. But like, there's no way we're gonna get this right because that's gonna be amazing, and he's definitely not gonna win. He's definitely not gonna do it. You got Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski are always also deriding it, but I bet you a lot of
I
people
do.
hate this guy.
I do not understand Susan Collins. Because I feel like every time something chaotic happens, it all boils down to Susan Collins. This is like the Supreme Court justice picks, it all came down to Susan Collins. Have you seen those
Yeah,
memes where it's like Susan Collins saying, I think they've learned their lesson, so I'm going to go ahead and like,
yeah, no,
you
that she was basically I think that was probably lampooning Kavanaugh, if not other
know.
things.
Hmm.
But she was one of those people that Kavanaugh said, no, I'm not going to overturn Roe v. Wade, and then he did it, and then
Hmm.
she was like, oh my gosh, I'd never, gasp, and it's like, what they told you, Susan or Senator Collins, you know.
Listen, I feel like everything in this country always boils down to California, Texas, Florida, Susan Collins, um, Donald Trump. um,
Texas, California,
and the
Susan
people
Collins.
who no, Texas, California, Florida, the people who run those states, right?
Uh,
Some people in like Kevin McCarthy, Mitch McConnell, like
yeah,
Nancy, but
yeah,
like it all comes down to like this like 10 different like key elements of everything
yeah.
that goes on in this
It's
country.
it's it's funny you mentioned Kevin McCarthy because Kevin McCarthy has said in a few interviews after the fact that the reason why Gaetz nuked his speakership is because he wouldn't shut down this probe. And it's just like
Mhm.
I am going to trust the scorned Republican when he's gossiping. Like it's probably it. It's like
Yeah.
they he used the Republicans going with the Democrats on a government funding bill as an excuse. But yeah, I mean
I
she's
mean,
she's up for reelection in 2026. So one, I think she's going to be really motivated to be an anti-Trumper, but also I don't think she's going to make it. I think she's gonna lose in 2026 if she runs again. Then it'd be her sixth term. if she won in 2026. So, but yeah,
It's wild. I mean, this is okay. So this is what inspired this. Have you seen this Harry Potter peep? Why is it when something happens, it's always you three? Is
I
it
don't know. I
wrong?
guess because yeah, I guess not.
We always have something wild happening in California. There's always something going down in Texas with the border, and we're always dealing with a hurricane in Florida. Like it seems
Well,
like
it's not
that's
just
what it all.
Florida. So I do have to defend Florida for a minute. There's always this meme, Florida man. Like, there's always this wild stuff going on in the news, and they're just like, "What is Florida like? Super crazy place or something like that?" Well, it's actually they have very um, lax laws when it comes to like public disclosure. So
Mm,
anytime a crime happens, like it's pretty normal for the media to be all over it because there's just every detail's out in the open like right away.
sure.
So yeah, I mean, and what do they call it? The Sunshine State. Sunshine is the best disinfectant, you know, as in, and it's just like you share a little too much, Florida. Like let's wait till somebody's convicted before you tell me their entire life story and
Right.
the, their crystal meth addiction. You know?